Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth. Find one thing to move your business forward today with conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen and follow and subscribe on social media. Dear Business Coach pages and groups. Dear Business Coach podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. I didn't mean to do that. So now I can record. Yay. Okay, so now we've got our recording going. And so Normia Vazquez Scales, welcome back to the Dear Business Coach podcast. Yeah, you look lovely today. What are you wearing?
I am wearing, well, actually, this was something that I picked up in Charlotte.
Oh,
It's
oh, I like that. It's cuffed and it's just
it's I belted it up.
Oh, you did?
This was, so I'm plugging Kimmy in Charlotte now. I was on a work trip, for some extraneous work that I've been doing, but that we're wrapping that up, and that's giving me time and space to really dive into rags to runway now. I mean, it's really calling my name. It is. Yes, the fashion. Yes, it's the fashionista within is being summoned, and I've been called to action to outfit other women and men and women, men, he, she, they, in between. Yes, teen girls, teen boys. Young and mature, I should say.
Yes, that's right. Well, now last time that we mentioned rags to runway, I think that you had said you were going to play around with boots, cowgirl boots, and that was a season or two ago. How did that play out for you?
I'm still there.
Cool.
Actually donned my cowgirl boots with this ensemble. So today. So yeah, this ensemble and the jacket. Yeah, royal blue is one of the colors that speaks to me this season.
Yeah, royal blue. And you are wearing spring colors today, and it looks like you said you had put your own belt on it, and that's what made it it could fitted. It also looks like a short mid-length skirt. What kind of dress or what kind of piece would you call this?
I would say it definitely is most befitting to spring, summer.
Mm-hmm.
I like to wear belts as accessories. So it actually, without the belt, it's more of like what do you want to say? I call it like like a balloon dress.
Yeah.
But
okay.
The A-line look, so I had to give it a bit of like to draw things in it at the waist. That's one of my trademarks. But I purchased this, from a vendor who she sells in Noda. Now that I know what Noda is in Charlotte, North Davidson Street.
Okay.
And she just sells from her vintage racks on the sidewalk.
Nice.
Yeah, which is giving me an idea for my vertical.
Hey, listeners, don't forget to subscribe to email if you haven't already. Do this at dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. And if you are a new subscriber, look for the magazine coming up. You can get a free download as a new subscriber. That's dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Thanks so much, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Remember, you are a superstar. Well, beautiful. I need to turn this heater off in my room. I meant to turn this down. It's going to be too loud for your reading.
No problem.
Okay.
Right.
Well, beautiful. So yeah, we will come back to talking about rags to runway, and I would like to ask you, Normia, to tell me a little bit about what's going on in your world. In a minute, I'll ask you to read a poetry selection or two, and some things are new for you as far as what your professional profile is and where people can find you and talk to you. So will you introduce yourself today?
So, reintroducing myself, I'm Normia Vazquez Scales. I said the founder of Recalibrating the Scales and enunciate at Recalibrating the Scales for the communication vertical. Also, manifest at Recalibrating the Scales for my mindfulness coaching and consulting business or vertical, I should say. So, most recently, actually, brand fresh, spanking new. Just in the midst of this work trip, I've made the decision. Yes, I really am completely enamored with fashion, as enamored with it's another art form, as I am a creative at heart, a creative, a teacher, a healer, and a creative at heart. And this is just another artistic avenue. It's something that I want to offer to other clients that are receptive of it, clients that want to reinvent themselves. They basically are looking to give themselves a bit of an overhaul or a glow up or an uplift, to actually and more an aesthetically enhanced version of themselves. You know.
Yeah, an enhanced version. I like that phrasing.
Yeah.
And well, I'll ask you for more about that here in a minute too. So thank you for sharing that. And one of the reasons I asked you to join me here today is because uh, I wanted to I wanted to give myself the excuse to ask you to read some more of your poetry. I replayed the first recording we made together
Mhm.
was in a live setting at the Junebug Theater in Floyd, Virginia. And so the replay shows you and me on stage. Actually, most of the photo work in that replay is you on stage, but we can tell you're in the theater, and the colors are beautiful and your outfit's beautiful. And when I got to hear a couple of your pieces of work, so some of that might blend in today. So for listeners, I don't know what you have brought today. So this is a surprise to me, even though I have one of your books behind me. Pardon my vernacular wordsmith at large is the one that's on my background table here. And it's actually been in my background for a couple of recordings now. So you might see it pop up in a few videos too. What are we going to listen to you read today?
So just so since you've mentioned let's why not encore part of my vernacular? Is there
Okay.
Sure, I'd be happy to read some poetry, some of the prose poems from there. Is there anything in particular, any mood that you're in the mood for? You in the mood for something romantic?
Well, in the mood, I actually picked up this book a couple of weeks ago thinking about our conversation, and I had a hard time deciding if you were going to ask me that question, what I would say. And but there are actually a couple. I know that um, let me see here. I want to ask you too while I am flipping through the pages. What is retell the story about me about how some of your work got translated into Italian in this book.
Oh, yes, yes. So that was actually one of my favorite poems. That poem was written in homage to my mother, for my mother, in dedication to my mother. And I had a fellow poet that was kind enough, who is native Italian from Naples, I believe it is, but who was gracious enough to translate it for me, as he'd done some translating of his own. He translated, was it Dante's Inferno? I want to say to Italian.
That's
And
a popular one.
he just completed his own personal project, and I'm like, wow, just the sound of that. Ooh, wouldn't that be lovely? To have this translated to Italian, just something so easy on the ears, more aesthetic appeal. And he was gracious enough to do that for me. His name is it's it's Elio it's Elio Soldi for short. Angelarelio Soldi is his full name. Yes, and he's local poet here in the Triangle area.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We would
Well, that was fascinating. So that was that a friend of yours, you said, and that's how he came to translate for you for this book.
Yeah, so we would all meet Friday afternoons for a poetry circle. Yeah, for a poetry circle, and he brought some of his poetry, or well, we would meet in the afternoons. We would meet and read and recite, and that's how we became acquainted. I actually need to reach back out to him. Yeah, because that was very, very, very generous of him to do that. So
Well, beautiful. Yeah, I know sometimes revisiting work and just talking about this, somebody asks you a question and you say, "Oh, you know what? I meant to talk to that person." That happens all the time. That's why it's fun to open our notebooks back up and look back at what we were what we were working on and revisit some of the people that we were working with. So you actually okay, so this book is Pardon My Vernacular, Wordsmith at Large. Verbal Tango, Volume 1 is the subtitle here on the page. An exclusive nerd novelty comprised of intricate poetry and prose by Normia Vazquez Scales. Um, this particular episode will actually be released probably close to, let's see, this is coming March. It'll be maybe, yeah, the beginning of April. So it'll be very thinking of springtime. The breeze is still a little bit cool. Maybe that's the mood we're in.
I'm dressed for the occasion.
Yes.
Oh, look.
Okay, yeah. What do you think feels like that?
Hey, I'm game.
Hmm.
Go. Let's go for it. I'm in. Okay. So in terms of selections,
Hmm.
did you have a preference?
Okay, well, we had you featured last time, the interpersonal communication and endangered species, adolescent reflections. This one is pretty. This one is fun, and yet also maybe uh this is a good one to ask you to give some backstory because um you said a minute ago that you're I've asked you about your friend who had translated up some work into Italian, and you said he had helped you with one of your poems that was a dedication to your mother. And this poem actually is, as it says, adolescent reflections on page 22 in my copy. This is before that, right? This would be before you are posing letters and language to your parents. This is, as it says, adolescent reflections. Very adolescent, it seems like. Is that right?
This is a spinoff of this was an assignment that I had in my undergrad. We were reading when you're light when you're light and have long hair. And I believe that's, if I recall accurately, that should be Gwendolyn Brooks, the late great Gwendolyn Brooks, veteran poet, very renowned poet or poetess. Um, and we've done explications of short stories and explications of poems, and that would have been considered a short story that I had done an explication for, and me being the visual being that I am, the visual species that I am, I decided, let me create some sort of a prelude to my explication for this, where we're basically decoding and, giving, expounding upon these works. And I decided to write this piece, which was from the vantage point. I was painting a scene, just painting a picture. I love to paint pictures through words, because I really am a visual kinesthetic being and visual kinesthetic learner, I should say. So I infused that into that assignment, and I
Mm.
coming up with this. So this would have been an excerpt or a prelude, from the vantage point of an adolescent at that time.
Mhm.
Yes. But
Okay.
it was my junior year of my undergrad, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the summer.
Very cool.
I forget the summer of the junior year of my undergrad.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. Beautiful.
Which came much earlier than um, than the dedication to my mother, the accolades. Yeah, that was far more recent, I would say. Yeah, 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, this one is this one my eyes did fall upon this one because it is, as you said, you are using this to paint a picture, and this is very quickly envelops you in the atmosphere, and there's a lot of scents, and you bring the smells to us that feel like home. And I live in the South, and so a lot of the things you refer to in terms of food and scents and familiar smells, I relate to as well, just because of the food you talk about. So let's hear this one from you, Adolescent Reflections.
Okay. All right. You got it. Adolescent reflections. Upon the noon hour, swarms of cream, toffee, brown, and black children frolicked beneath the golden metal, voguing in the whistling heights. Iridescent sunbeams kissed the mouths and mahogany noses of women adorned in white linen motif, while sipping Arctic frappes and nibbling the remnants of Sonia's sinfully sweet red velvet cake. Meanwhile, young sturdy gentlemen plunged into the watery deep fathoms beneath the pool's surface and ascended to shroud themselves in luxurious white terry cloth fabrics. Coffee colored men ventured to midday amore and surrendered to Auntie Sheila's prize winning baked Alaskan before conversing with an additional clique furnished in regal attire. Time lapsed, and the painstaking hour arrived, enlightening everyone of the departing hour. Yet, upon processing out of this social sphere, children assumed their places in the rear of Mumsy and Daddy's frost colored vehicles. Then they set off alas, trailing skyscraping oak trees and emerald fields stained with fragrant lilies. However, upon approaching their destination, the sweet aroma dwindled and brown splotched lawn prevailed, intertwined with strangling weeds prevailed in lieu of lush vegetation noted previously. The frost colored automobiles dimmed and transformed into dusky charcoal jalopies as everyone's pristine white garb tarnished. Plywood took precedence over the oak in the previous atmosphere, and sultry tunes spewed from the dilapidated homes of its residents. In addition, the simmering smell of collards, complemented by ham hocks and sweet honey cornbread, lured the people inside. Boisterous laughter resonated in exchange for the rehearsed ha ha ha's, thus marking the cadence of the transition, which reiterates in the forthcoming days, years, and decades to follow. Life in a duplex world.
Are you a LinkedIn user? If you are, you can join me for LinkedIn Live Audio with Elizabeth every week, usually on Mondays at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I will have a LinkedIn Live Audio where we talk about podcasting for executives who speak and podcasting for team leaders who speak. These are the themes that are currently running. If that sounds like something you're interested, visit me, Elizabeth Walker at Work, on my LinkedIn profile. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Mhm.
It's fun. It struck me as I was listening to you read this that I am applying the idea of scent. I'm experiencing scent around things that maybe you didn't intend for me to smell. But as soon as I remembered this piece with food involved, and you put that together with um, a setting that is clearly a community like gathering, and it makes me feel like warm weather gathering. And so when I hear you say oak, and you're talking about weeds, you're talking about oak trees, emerald fields stained with fragrant lilies, I'm smelling plants, and I'm smelling flowers, and I'm smelling oak trees. And that happened way before we got to the part where you are talking about ham hocks and and honey cornbread. I actually just had some honey cornbread over the weekend and hadn't had it in a long time. And it made me think of Southern cooking and these things that go together when you
Yes.
think of Southern landscapes too. And so um, you also mentioned red velvet cake, and that is another familiar reference. And I don't know if it's just by coincidence, but there are several people in my family that red velvet cake is one of their favorite cakes. And I'm not sure if I even have had true red velvet cake. I've probably only had restaurant and box red velvet cake. So, I mean, these are some of the things that stuck out to me, even though um you and I have different backgrounds, but we are um I'm drawing on things that might be similar in culture. You're in speaking to someone who spent a lot of time in Southwest Virginia. um and we have a lot of these scent provoking things, I think, in a lot of places of America, right? So, um, Auntie Sheila's prize winning baked Alaskan.
Mhm.
So that's another familiar. Am, are we talking about about the dish here?
So there was a dish, there was a cake actually that my mom had gifted us with. I should, had the pleasure of sampling by virtue of my mother who'd attended a wedding. It was
Okay.
a cake that, very, 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 what's the word? It was a decadent cake, that you
Mm.
actually set on fire.
Real for real? I feel like this is part of the ceremony.
They set it on fire.
Okay, very
And,
cool.
and she called it a baked Alaskan.
Okay.
So I made sure I incorporated that into this particular piece. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. All right, awesome.
You know,
Well, that was beautiful. Let's check the time here. How are we doing? I don't even know what time it is. Now you read Inferno last time, didn't you, for me?
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, you did, because we talked about how it was a poetry contest. And so that one you read on stage. That one's hard to not to get you to read, but we've heard that one and I just replayed it. So let's see.
Mm.
You also got to read your letter to President Obama. That was included in the replay. So I was thinking of that piece as well when I asked you to come back here. And then I realized we did actually get the full reading last time, and I've already replayed it. So I probably need to pick a new one. You had suggested. Something maybe sensual. It's springtime, and I'm looking at the love language section, and there is, of course, the soul fusion, the rapture in rapture, excuse me, colon soul fusion, and this one is really really pretty, and it's involves the carpe diem phrasing, which I hear you talk about in different ways and different references around your work and in your work. What do you think about reading this one?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
Soul in Rapture, Soul Fusion. So may your positively breathtaking birthday and year overflow into an ocean of simply profound treasures and priceless, incomparable moments. Celebrating the small yet meaningful things amid your days. Carpe diem. Indulge and bask in the gift of the present. Dance as though no one's watching. Inhale the effervescent, tantalizing aroma of sweet roses and waltz beneath fallen rain while embracing the gift of life and sheer living, which is paramount. So may your inherent benevolence sculpt infinite rewards which afford you a sprightly new desired precedent in the storybook and novel titled Life. Seize the reins and stake your claim. After all, life isn't measured by the number of breaths we take, but the moments that take our breath away. Maya Angelou. This is my birthday wish for you. Feliz cumpleaños, darling, and happy Chinese New Year, which also just so happens to be today. Happiest birthday to you, guapísimo. Disfruta a tu mismo. Ciao, bello. You are equals too good to be forgotten. Me preguntaste que lo quería y ira decirte ahora. Yo simplemente quiero un poquito de tu tiempo. Me gustaría deslizarse dentro de tu piel y lo caminar alrededor. Como tiempo lapsos más características profundos desvelan, cuál desconfirma nuestra unión. Con qué frecuencia son dos personas se encuentran a tres espacios geográficos y tres veces distintos. Primero, el centro de rally durante una celebración épico en el Día de la Independencia en 2014. Próximo al Festival de Jazz en Richmond, Virginia en 2016. Finalmente en Durant, mientras cenando con mi amiga. Es como si nuestras almas han sido agitado hasta que han engranados. Ay, creo que este amor era predestinado. Hay no coincidencia que nos caemos en el rapto juntos, mi amorcito. Paz y amor por siempre, mía. And that's Soul Fusion. And there's a story behind that one.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't know what the story could be when I pull one of these out. What can you share?
Oh, wow. I was just speaking about this to one of my dear friends today, my cousin today, actually.
Oh, cool.
And so I had written this. It was more or less a love letter in tandem with this gentleman's birthday at the time. And I was also taking a refresher bilingual refresher Spanish, conversational Spanish class. So we were charged with writing something in Spanish. And I decided, okay, well, let me write a letter slash poem, for that. And this is basically, this is, how In Rapture Soul Fusion had been birthed into fruition. So, yeah.
Well, cool. You know what? I think I would like to ask you, and if you don't mind sharing, and I'm observing that quite a few of your pieces of work, you have included in a current compilation, a current published book that are pulled from all over your life, that are pulled from places where you've written in all stages of your life, including primary school, elementary school, or middle school, or high school. And so, one of the things that I'm trying to put into words during my times on LinkedIn, doing live audio speaking to podcasting for women and groups related, is to encourage people to remember that you can put together stories and works that come from all times in your life. And specifically, this is a really good example because you have told us now in two readings today that each of these came from a time when maybe you were prompted actually to write a poem. Now, possibly you were in a class, possibly you were in a writing group, whatever the case may be. These are actually pieces that came to you in part because something going on in your writing life was prompting you there. So you told me just now you were prompted to revisit your Spanish skills, and also you might have been prompted previously in the first work we listened to by a writing group or a class. And so however that came to you. So was this a part of the plan when publishing Pardon My Vernacular, Wordsmith at Large? Was this part of the plan to pull work that was from all parts of your life?
It was. It was. Yes. Definitely a compilation, milestones. These are milestone pieces along the way. Some of them were at that juncture, present day, but yeah, they have been scripted through time and space. Just very vast and varied times and spaces, and geographic spaces as well. And at the time, I was. It was definitely a high point, I should say. To put it lightly, during that interval. So that definitely put a spin on things. Yeah, it was infused into these written works.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think it's time to ask you to tell me about some more about Rags to Runway.
Yeah.
And be as part of that, while we're talking, we're not done talking just yet. We have a few minutes left, but what is the best place to get in touch with you and find you?
So the best way to get in contact with me is via email, I would say. Manifest at recalibratingthescales.com. Apart from that, I would say most efficiently. I do have social media handles. I will definitely be exercising those muscles more often with this new fashion unearthing and exhuming rags to runway. And but yes, most efficiently, I would say manifest at recalibrating the scales. I'm very, very dedicated and obsessive compulsive about monitoring my emails and that means of communication and phone calls as well. So
Okay. Yeah, okay. So manifest at recalibratingthescales.com is your email address.
yes,
And recalibratingthescales.com is the website.
yes, that's good.
Okay, so right now, you're working in the fashion area. So Rags to Runway is a segment, a vertical that you have that you have that you have given, excuse me, is a service that you've provided for many years, and right now you are basically this is the season, right? This is the time. So you told me the other day that right now is a great time for people to get in touch with you, to get some fashion help and to get some revamping and to think about my closet in a different way. Think about what is at my fingertips that I might already have access to that I can look at in a different way that might be flattering. I want to feel good when I'm at work. I want to be comfortable, and it's fine and fun and acceptable and appropriate and professional to have a little bit of style and color too. So I can send you an email if I want to say ask you about scheduling an appointment time or a phone call to meet with you or talk with you about what I can do to get started changing up or igniting my closet and my wardrobe for the spring and summer. What do you think are some things this year for 2025? Maybe some tips that we could focus on right now. What can I do today to help myself out in this area?
So you mean at this very moment with,
Well, thinking about this spring of 2025 and give me some uh, maybe it could be something that's in style that you're excited about that you will be maybe suggesting to folks, or maybe even it's just classic recommendations to remember when coming into spring.
yes, yes. So definitely, if we were in the same shared geographic space, I would definitely want to work with colors. These are the colors that you prefer. I do believe in services that I offer are client centered. Your client-centered services. And this is a different conversation I'm thinking I just had with my brother, who's also very immersed in the fashion and retail industry. With, he and my sister-in-laws, there are three verticals that they have, which are confidence apparel, well, model atelier, which is her tall girl line, confidence apparel, which is their joint collaboration, and then Parker Durbin, which is his men's line. They support one another on all verticals, but they have it's hers, theirs, and his
Yeah.
vertical. But very immersed in it. Um, we have a difference in opinion on styling. He said he's more apt to style according to his preferences. I said, well, no, I believe in client centered work. So we would
Mm,
do is like, okay, what colors do you prefer? Okay, but I would emphasize colors or encourage the client, you or other clients to wear colors that complement the skin tone,
mhm,
especially going into this sprightly new season. So, for us young ladies and gentlemen, because, men are exploring different colors now, that,
mhm,
bold colors, pinks and fuchsias and things of that nature. It's not just unique to the female gender any longer. It's unisex now. We're embracing a spectrum of colors. But I would always, again, encouraging what complements the skin tone, styles that
mhm,
complement your body type. That would be my other emphasis. So we're going to select options, ideally from what you have at your disposal. If need be, we could take, go shopping online, go shopping in store, which I'm definitely a proponent of. So you can actually feel the fabric, go touch, taste, and see. And
mhm,
you've got that. You can actually, as in times past, we're trying on garments, in person, seeing what actually works for you as opposed to holding your breath and hoping and praying that you get what is marketed on a website.
yes.
We know without calling names, we know those merchants.
Oh, sure. And I've gotten used to, I mean, I know, yeah, for amongst the brands or website that I'm used to looking at, I have gotten a feel for which ones that just are never going to fit the way they're represented on the model. And so, right. And so fabrics, yes, fabrics. We talked about this a little bit last time too, and you mentioned fabrics, and you are very, very good at layering, and I'm a fan of layering too, and we can layer in the summer and spring too. um But fabrics are like you said, important. Are personally, I like the idea of something that um is a little bit flowy, right? I want it to feel soft. And I don't know exactly what to look for. Are there, if I know that probably things that might be cotton blends I like. However, cotton can be difficult to maintain if it really is truly 100% cotton. It wears out really quickly, and it's not actually that flattering if you just throw it on and hope it falls exactly the right way.
Mhm.
So, I don't know if you have any preferences for like what kinds of fabrics you like to look out for. Um, that are great for for many people, or are there things to stay away from that are just not flattering for anybody?
Yes, I definitely am a proponent of. I do like certain, like cotton, for the breathability factor. Sometimes with cotton, there's a tendency for colors, to retain the freshness and vibrance of your color.
Hmm,
I also am a proponent. I prefer fabrics and clothing that lays closer to the
hmm,
skin, that's form fitting, that falls closer to the skin, that clings closer to the skin, I would say. So we're talking satins and, it's not, well, not, it's not the ideal fabric, but then you're getting into your polyester blends and things of that nature. Some, those would be your synthetic fabrics.
mhm.
Um, but even more so, color.
Okay.
Because depending on the effect of the fabric, sometimes if you're looking for more of an A-line effect, you might want something that's a little less soft, that's a little more rigid,
Oh.
to give you that um, that definition without having to necessarily wear a petticoat. If you're wearing a dress or a skirt, say, for example, then you want something that's a little firmer, that's a little stiffer, not as flowy, not as soft.
Hmm. Well, I think you can have something that is um pleasant to the touch and maybe not as delicate like you say, so it would be form fitting. So or maybe even something that is maybe even layered. Maybe this is even the fabric itself can be layered, right? Sometimes you have a skirt or an overall or something like that where it is actually literally a couple layers of the fabric. What do you recommend for something that is a little bit heavier like you're suggesting?
So your question, you said if it's a heavier fabric and you're looking to for which effect?
Yeah, so if you are looking, like you suggested, if we're going for maybe an A-frame, for example, you do want it to be a little bit of a stiffer fabric so it creates the form effect.
Mhm.
So would that be a kind of, like you said, like a maybe a poly blend of something? Um,
Poly blend. Sometimes so actually you can accomplish that with cotton as well.
mhm.
Some of the dresses that I wear, particularly the ethnic dresses, they're heavier, that heavier cotton. Um,
Yes.
it naturally lends more form, I would say, like my full length skirts, or even for my shorter baby doll coat dress, which wraps at the waist and ties into a bow, and then it flares a bit, gives it the fit and flare. It's just, I would say it's a medium. It's not the heaviest cotton, but a medium
Mhm.
textured cotton, which you find a lot of that in, say, West African attire, West African or African attire, because of
Mhm.
the colors and so forth. And then encouraging, clients, despite what your ethnicity is, to not be afraid to toy with those, not to be afraid of to embrace those you know, different, garments I'm going to say different ethnic groups, I should say. So it could be, if they're from India, or let's say, from vast and varied parts of Africa and so forth, or even the Latin American garments as well. I believe in a fusion, which is why I'm so committed and so motivated to do this work, because I haven't experimented with all of these. I've undergone vast and varied metamorphoses, different phases of life, and I just had this conversation earlier with different era pieces. So attire, what was hot when I went through my trending days, and it was all about the trends and the fads. I'm not into trends and fads as much in these days. It's really about the look, that I'm going for, despite what, whatever, whatever society is saying. Okay, well, this is what the it thing is for 2025 or for the year. You know,
Mhm.
I encourage people to embrace what is complementary to them, because whatever the it trend is may not serve you well. It may or may not serve you well. So I'm about what serves the client well. At the end, is this something that's going to make you pop? Is this something that's going to give you a personal relative glow up? And to have you to customize, and through coaching, for us to create some sort of a baseline for what look the client is going for.
Hmm.
Ultimately, it's like, okay, so this is where you are. Can you give me an idea of what is your vision for what are you going for? What do you want to look like in terms of hair, in terms of fashion? Now, obviously, I wouldn't be the party to style the hair. I would, speak to one of my, basically my team. Well, my mastermind team members that I'm building. I'm not a hairstylist. As much as I love hair, I can look at a person and say, I think that a bob would be befitting, or a pixie would be befitting on that person, given their structure, their bone structure, the shape of the shape of the head, the bone structure, and so forth, knowing, okay, I have an idea of a keen idea of what would complement that person, you know, entertaining their options first. And then, I would also be willing to share my options, but at the end of the day, it's about what the client is ultimately going to decide.
Mhm. I I watched some makeover shows, and it's pretty funny when when somebody's initially the client
Mhm.
says, "Oh, no, I don't want to try anything too out there or too new, because there's only a few things that I'm really comfortable with, or I've been wearing the same kind of shirt or jacket for so many years, and here's why." Or maybe we're trying to cover up something that we feel is a problem area.
Mhm.
So and then kind of as the stylist, right, in these television shows, what I often see is that the stylist will find a way uh, to encourage, what you're saying, a little bit of a pop, something that's a glow up. And often the client is surprised how easy it is to try something new. Just changing one new little thing, one new little accent or detail can really make your whole day feel different. um is there something that you've added to your wardrobe recently that has made you feel a little bit different, or made you feel yeah, something you haven't, maybe a piece of jewelry or an accent that is new in your wardrobe these days?
It's the boots. The boots.
The boots.
What I would tell, and this is something I strongly implore and encourage to anyone, in this journey of reinventing, aesthetically reinventing the self in terms of this physical image, this outer image. Um, Go for pieces that are going to create that and evoke that vibe. For me, I walk around the house barefoot. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, I still feel like I, confident, but when I step into the cowgirl boots, you're stepping into it's an alter ego. It creates a vibe for me. So I'm in
Yes.
the house, I'm walking about, there's a confidence that is off the charts. It's not an arrogance, it's a confidence. And it has everything to do with that particular pair of boots, which I've they've been in the closet. I mean, I've only resumed wearing them courtesy of Lunar New Year because the colors um, allow me to play by the rules of Lunar New Year. So,
Okay.
okay, well, these boots work. It's not. And well, that's another subject. And Lunar New Year is not advised to go and buy new shoes. Don't wear. It's inauspicious to wear new shoes. So I'm like, what do I have at my disposal? I'm like, oh, I have those cowgirl boots.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And the things that you can play and to mix and mesh with those boots. And please don't don a hat, that you can, cock to the side and play with the brim of the hat. Yeah. I'm ready to play. Let's go.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. Well,
Later. Reintroduce
forward me any
that to Normia.
pictures.
Reintroduce. No, there's actually something that I'm cooking up. I'm
Okay.
challenging myself, and I'm ready to just basically pull this off in record time. As early as possibly this weekend, if I can. All I
Ooh.
need is a venue where I'm inviting a mass number of females. I'm going to have to cap it off at a number that I'm willing to speed outfit on the spot.
Ooh.
Yes.
All right. So if I want to know when you come up with the details and if I want to know when you're able to advertise that, or if I have access to ask you for an invite or registration when you get that going, I can ask you for that in by sending you an email request.
Send me an email request. My intention is to have something posted on Eventbrite. If they allow me to, hey, I'd like to talk to my local shopping, the shopping center, the mall nearby, to see if I could even, hey, is it legal for me just to have a pop up, where I have this, and working with some of the retail stores, of course, where I have these women who you can bring your attire, we can try on attire, but we're playing dress up on the spot. I'm dressing you.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So we definitely want to know when that is. Well, let me go ahead and get you on with the rest of your evening. I don't know what time it is, but thank you so much for coming today. And so it's yeah. So you're
Mhm.
um manifest at recalibratingthescales.com.
That is correct. Reach
Okay.
out to me if you can reach me on Instagram. I'm gonna, the Rags to Runway is under development by virtue of recalibrating. Was it recalibrating the scales? Is my Instagram. Let me just make sure. I have to get accustomed to working that muscle a lot more. I'm such
It
a
is tricky.
such an organic communicator, I should say. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Yes.
so recalibrating the scales is the Instagram account.
Okay. Well, and yeah, if you would like me to look at photos and I was about to say artwork, but yes, your art there, I would yeah, encourage folks to follow you there. And also, if I want to look out for where you're speaking, and for example this podcast episode, I know that you also have featured content on your social media, so look for Normia Vazquez Scales work. And thank you for coming today and reading us your poetry. And I would like to find out when your pop-up events are, so we're not I'm not I'm your neighbor, kind of.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I will be posting something soon. You're gonna see, there's not much in the way of activity on my Instagram as it stands right now. I said I've been very much offline, but that will be very much online. Uh,
Mhm.
Hopefully, God willing, within the week. As soon as
Okay.
this off. So I have to do some work. I've got to contact some of the local retail stores to say, hey, let's how could we foster this collaboration, with me. Basically it will be a win-win-win for everybody. And then prom season is loading, ladies and gentlemen. So please at the
Yes.
disposal of teen girls. I'm pulling off my what is it? My dress for success hat. Where I
Yeah.
outfitted women for business attire for interviews as a volunteer coach back then. So I'm basically unshelving and dusting off rags to runway and really, really properly giving it the oomph that it's warranted. So
Oh, well, you're the person to do it.
I'm fired up and ready to go.
Well, Normia, thank you so much. And I would like to, yep, come visit you. So I hope you have a fantastic evening and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, and you the same. Thanks for having me, Elizabeth. I definitely look forward to us circling up in person.
Yeah, of course. All righty. Bye for now.
Bye for now.